Hello, welcome. This recording is of the Sky Meaningful Connections for Youth Mental Health event. This event was really a celebration of tools that work and people who are making a difference for education and for youth mental health. So you'll hear from leaders in the field and corporate sector and education, our teachers, youth, testifying to what really moves the needle in terms of efficacy and success and fundamentally mental health and wellness. To provide a little context, I just want to take one moment by way of introduction to share what's happening right now and the level of the need and how Sky Schools has been able to and hopes to respond. So we know, many of us, that there has been a real crisis, frankly, in youth mental health for quite some time now. Over the last 15 years, there has been a 75% increase in adolescent suicidality. Since COVID, there's been a further 75% increase from that pre-pandemic levels, the crisis levels, in adolescent suicidality. And there has been a 400% increase in anxiety, which was also at crisis levels. 1 in 3 children, teenagers largely, were facing clinical levels of diagnosable anxiety disorder previously, and the rates were nearly twice as high among young women. If we look at equity, which is so absolutely critical at this moment, we see that, of course, the pandemic has had even more dramatic impact on people of color, and especially lower socioeconomic people of color, with nearly 3 times higher rates of anxiety and suicidality among these populations. So we've got tremendous work to do as a society, and there's no better place to do it than starting with our schools and addressing our young people in their need. Sky Schools focuses on providing 2 core elements of the puzzle. One is the social emotional learning the self-awareness, the social awareness, the decision-making tools to help young people make healthy and effective and successful decisions for them, especially facing the substantial challenges they're navigating. Even more so in communities of color and lower socioeconomic communities where certain resources simply aren't available in terms of counselors, other wellness resources. So this is one piece of the puzzle, the social emotional. The second is the actual tools, the physiological tools to address stress and address trauma. And Sky focuses on breath work and relaxation strategies that have been shown to be profoundly impactful in helping young people to reduce stress, reduce trauma, become more clear, focused, energized, and successful. So this is a moment where the need is tremendous, and our message is simply that there are strategies which really work. And this is the time to double down and invest in the tools that make a difference. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for your support, for your advocacy, for your commitment to youth mental health in this country, and please enjoy. We now have a real privilege. We're going to dive right into our first keynote. And we have a gentleman who's been a profound inspiration for myself and many of our team, who's been a coach for many of us, and is doing truly remarkable work helping corporate America to address stress and to lead us through a new visioning of what work can be. I'm really loving his talks these days on the future of humans at work and his new podcast. So we are going to hear from Mr. Johan Berlin, who is the CEO of Telex Institute. He is an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur who's been building B Comp and social impact enterprises for years and has been widely acknowledged. I could talk a lot about his accolades, but what I really want to emphasize is his heart, the way he leads, the way he brings people to the table to find common voice and action around transformative vision. And I really encourage all to make it to his website and watch his TED Talk on the power of kindness. It really speaks to who he is and the vision he has for the world. and he manifests it daily. So thank you so much. Please give a warm welcome for Mr. Johan Berlin.
Thank you, Alon. Thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you for hosting this event, and more importantly, the powerful work that Sky Schools is doing, really creating a transformation. In fact, I saw one of the superintendents of the school district I went to. I saw he was forwarded this message, and he may be on this call tonight, and just thinking about in my own life the impact that educators have had on me. And this particular person, he kept giving me second, third chances whenever I was going through a very hard time. And so it is often that community and that broader extension of educators and parents that really do create new possibility pathways. So I'm happy to be sharing some reflections. I'll also be prompting you guys with some questions, because I'd love to hear from you as we go. And as Alon was mentioning, I've had the incredible privilege of working with leaders across all different types of industry: government, social, nonprofit, philanthropic, and especially in the corporate sector. And I actually see some of our past clients on here. It's really nice to see people like Vivek. We did a lot of programs at his company, Astellas. And over the last decade, while I've been doing this work, it's been so powerful to see what are the skills, the needs, the challenges of creating a more inclusive, a more balanced, resilient, healthy work environment. And I think one of the challenges is so often we're working to retrofit from where we want to be from the current state that we're in. And I think what's so powerful in reflecting about Sky Schools coming into this is that really there's this incredible opportunity to shape those life skills from early on. And before I get into what I think and what we've learned the future skills of the future are, I just wanted to step back, because I think so often whenever we think about pathways, work, economic opportunity, we departmentalize it out of the context of life as a whole, as a broader perspective. And so I'd be curious to hear from people right now, what is it that you feel matters most in life? What are the things that matter most to you? Maybe it could be the work that you do, or maybe it could be something else. And I'd love for you to just put stuff in the chat box and hear. Love matters. Yep. Social connection, family, community health, deep collaboration, cooperation with one another, being intentional, family, health and relationships, meaningful connections, a broader sense of purpose, happiness. Of course, we all want to feel happy, health, public health, a little fun, absolutely, health and family, connection with others, lots on connection here, healthy family, connection with myself, to be more joyful and to experience joy in life. Creating a world where everyone is happy and appreciated, feels that sense, I really hear that sense of dignity in that. Yeah, feeling grateful, feeling gratitude, purpose, connection. Wow. Real mental health services to deal with the severely ill. And I could also just take that as compassion and caring for society. And this last one I'll end with is just being of service. And so much of what you all have shared is what the data tells us around what makes a good life, right? A sense of belonging, a sense of health, a sense of community, taking care of each other, a dignity and purpose in what we do. And these are all the things we know, right? Like we want We need these things. These things are foundational, separate from work and education, connection with our parents, with our loved ones, that intimacy, having things we enjoy doing, hobbies, right? Just being able to let your mind wander or to grab onto a passion, exercise, right? And pets, companionship are also something that come up a lot in the different discussions we've had all over the world. One that is a little bit hard when we're living in a Zoom universe, but the positive impacts of being in nature. A few years back, I had written with a colleague a Harvard Business Review article on what are the benefits, what are the benefits of us being in nature, particularly by ourselves, but also with others, can have an incredibly many effect. And this thing that so many of you brought up, dignity and connection. That ability to feel a sense we belong, we have dignity, and we have those who we're connected to. And I know that's really the motif of today's session. So everything you guys shared makes so much sense. And we know these are the more universal motifs in life. But if we zoom in beyond just our overall context of our life, what are the skills of the future, do you think? I'd love to hear from you in the chat box. What are the skills we're looking for in future leaders? Innovation, absolutely. Intuition, yep. Deep collaboration, cooperation with one another, yep. Adaptation, the ability to be agile and move. Empathy, non-judgmental. Communication, yep. Non-judgmental and able to communicate with people, yep. Overcoming bias and prejudice. Honesty, compassion, sensitivity, yep. Yep. Radical compassion, radical empathy, communication with ourselves, understanding our own signals and with others, and resilience. Absolutely. And I would be curious to hear from you guys, how many of those skills do you feel are technical skills? How many of those skills that everyone just mentioned in the future skills? Very few. Yeah, that's right, Matt. Very few. None. You could argue none. Yep, none. Chetan. So this idea that we know intuitively, it's not the technical skills that are really gonna differentiate us, are really gonna allow the next generation and current generation to lead, right? It's more these human skills, these soft skills. And that's so essential. It's so essential. And I just want to link back again, this presentation is not about Yes, but that is exactly the type of thing that Yes is doing. And I'm going to go one level below soft skills. And I'm going to say our own connection to ourself, our mental health, our ability to rest and restore are foundational to all of that. Both the technical skills are barrier to entry. We need to learn them. They're absolutely essential. But it's really those life skills that are going to allow us to thrive in leadership roles and to cooperate. And this is more and more the case. So in the series that Alon mentioned that I've done with C-suites from large organizations and public sector leaders like the former Secretary of Education, former CTO of Aetna, CVS Health, one of the largest healthcare and health services companies in the country. We know from those conversations and from all the trends that we will live in an augmented world, a highly technical world where humans especially will need these soft skills, this ability to discern, this ability to have good judgment and connection with others, and that will be augmented by a more technological world. And whenever we think about this, if you think about it as an educator or you think about it as an employer, I think of it a bit like a tidal wave, because there's this huge change coming out as the ground is moving from underneath us, and the demands and needs are totally new. The ways we interact, the ways that we work, the ways that we communicate with one another are all changing. And that's the world that the next generation, whether it be millennials or Gen Z or kids who are currently being educated in high school and middle schools and elementary schools all over the country. That's the world they're coming into. And so what are the foundational things that we've seen that we need? And so many of them were already mentioned by everyone on the call. The ability to stay present, right? When you really talk to great product leaders, this ability, or social sector leaders for that matter, this ability to listen, to be present in an era where we are totally distracted will be an essential and foundational piece that we need to cultivate. A secondary one, it's just that self-awareness. Some people were saying in the chat, like connection to myself, that ability to understand our own signals of our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, but also that part of us which is bigger than all of that, which is self-aware and able to see a much broader perspective in context in life, and to be mindful and to be able to stay present in action. And the other, which was mentioned, I think at least a dozen times in the chat box, is this idea of social connection and belonging, right? And we know, for example, social isolation is worse for you than smoking. And yet, as Alon mentioned, we live in a pandemic of social isolation. If you compare today from 20 years ago, we have fewer people that we feel we can confide a serious problem in. We have higher degrees of social isolation and anxiety. And one of the speakers who's coming next, Gagnon, has actually tracked all of this in the world's largest neuroscientific database, and will share some of those reflections and data. And then lastly, what I think we really want to do is we want all these things to be combined into skill in action, what I call skill in action. This ability to maintain those different faculties, but while being in service in the world, while doing our jobs, and to adapt and be agile, flexible, open, expanded. And so that's what we've learned at TLEX. And it's just, like I said at the beginning, it's such an honor to be able to speak at a Yes for Schools event, because I truly can say with all of my heart, that is what they are doing. That is the work, that is the way they are educating future leaders today all over this country. And I'll end my presentation with just a huge amount of gratitude for that whole team, all the teachers, all the principals who support them, and the schools that they're in. And it's a huge inspiration for me to be here with all of you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Johan. Your leadership is so deeply appreciated in helping us envision how best to set young people up for success in manifesting their huge dreams and the work they look to do in the world, and building that pipeline for the creative leaders of the future. So it's really been a joy to collaborate and learn from your wisdom. I want to take your prompt of expressing some gratitude and acknowledge some other corporate leaders who have been really instrumental to our day-to-day success, and also very specifically to this event. We have within Sky Schools a committee of corporate leaders who have helped us to envision how we can better engage corporate social responsibility, corporate partnerships, and moments such as this to come together and learn and serve together. So I want to give a special acknowledgement to Bhavik and Abhijit, to Emil and Amit, who have really been so valuable and so precious for us, and really exemplify for me exactly what Johan is saying, people with incredible technical skills in their professions, but whose power, in my sense, comes from their heart, their communication of vision, their capacity to connect and to hold a higher vision for service and what's possible. So thank you all so very much. And Preeti and others, I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, but I'm naming some of the people I've seen so far who I know are here with us. So thank you, all of you. And now we get to do something very, very beautiful and jump to our schools, what we're really talking about here. And our next speaker is an amazing educator who has joined us actually relatively recently. And that is one of the delights, is to hear from somebody who's come into this full throttle. And so the next person we're going to hear from is Miss Arlene Blaze Easter, who is a teacher in Freeport, New York, and she's a Sky Schools teacher. You heard Johan refer to Yes, and all of us still dance with that. For the first 15 years of this program, it was called Yes for Schools, the Youth Empowerment Seminar. So if you hear Yes referenced by any of us, myself included, that's what we're speaking about. Now we go with the name Sky Schools, which is in one part self-knowledge for youth, and also really refers to the Sky practice. We'll be sharing more with you this evening about this very unique practice, the Sky Breath meditation, that is used in IHV programs across the globe and in many different sectors. So within IHV, we have programs for veterans, we have programs for prisons, both inmates and correctional officers, programs for the police, for government leaders. And all of these programs use this Sky Breath meditation because it's such a profoundly impactful tool to help the system alleviate stress. So Sky Schools brings this into a school setting, and Arlene Blaze Easter does so in a really profound way, full-time present within a school, in a district where we've been working for the last decade, and she'll share more, but where we've seen just incredible shift in the metrics, but also in the community. So dramatic reduction in behavioral issues and disciplinary issues and violence, but also just a shift in culture and climate that has been truly inspiring. So I want to stop speaking and pass it over to our dear Arlene Blaze Easter to share more about her experiences.
Thank you, Ilan. Good evening, everyone. So yes, I retired last June, and many people ask, first of all, most people don't believe I'm retired, and many say, well, why would you return to public education after just 2 months of retirement? My decision was a passionate one, and the answer is that I needed more time for Sky Schools. About 4 years ago, I began to integrate social emotional learning content in my classroom. And in order to do that, I had to forfeit a science lesson once each week in order to engage my students in social emotional learning activities. It didn't take a long time for me to understand the importance of it, and the impact was profound. By creating the space for them, they began to unleash. They shared their personal challenges, their insecurities, their emotional stress, and in many cases, evidence of serious trauma. Becoming a Sky Schools teacher was one of the most transformative events in my entire life, because for me, it's not work. It actually has become a lifestyle, and it keeps me elevated every day. I taught over 30 years in Freeport Public School District as a math teacher. And I have to say that I'm sure most of my students didn't understand the geometry theorems. Many of them didn't. A lot of them didn't like trigonometry. But as a Sky Schools teacher, I can teach any student anywhere at any time. In fact, I can teach anyone anywhere at any time. I went to the Bahamas and wound up in a timeshare meeting, and I definitely didn't upgrade my property in that meeting, but I took the moment to teach the representative a technique, a breathing technique, when he expressed that he was having a lot of stress recently. Recently at work, during the school day, I joined the security guard at her post in the middle of the afternoon, and we were standing there, and she expressed that she was really depressed. And so I took that time standing up at the security post and taught her a breathing technique. So Sky Schools is for everyone, but I'm really seeing the growth with the students. What it does, what Sky Schools, what sets us apart from all the other social emotional learning programs is that we wrap this beautiful bow, I like to call it, around the same content of the SEL competencies, but we offer these breathing practices and teach techniques that use the physiology of the breath to literally improve your health, your happiness, and your success. So we're rounding down to the end of the school year now, and I thought it was a great time, since I've just been doing this for 10 months officially after retirement. I wanted to check in with my students and ask them, what does Sky Schools mean to you? And I'll share some of the reflections with you. Sky Schools brings awareness to your physical health, helps you focus on your mindset. It's meditation and breathing. It lets the stress out. It affects your mental health. It helps with anxiety when you relax. Makes me feel happier and kind. It's energy and rejuvenation, calming mindfulness, self-reflection, controlling our bodies, caring for myself and others. That's out of the mouths of babes, 5th and 6th grade students. And I can't tell you how many teachers approach me every day and they testify as to how their students are actually utilizing the breathing processes when they're having a tough moment. The staff can't wait to engage in a practice that we use each day that I'll explain a little bit later. Everybody wants to know. I go into classrooms and students will say first thing, are we going to breathe today? They don't, before I even begin to teach, are we going to breathe today? So the breathing is the cream of it all with Sky Schools and the social and emotional learning component. At this time, we would like to share a short video of some other students in our district that attended junior high school, Dodd Junior High School, and some of their reflections.
Hi, I'm Linda Solzer. I'm one of the Sky teachers at Dodd Middle School in Freeport, New York. We've had this amazing program in our school for, about 10 years actually ago. It started in a very small way, and now we have full 5-week curriculums in both 7th and 8th grade. And it's made a difference in our school. It's made a difference in my life, and it's touched all the lives of our students who have mastered the breathing techniques and the stress relief applications that we have for them.
The Sky program is so helpful in teaching the whole student. Right? A lot of times we teach a lot of content and we lose sight of how our child is doing mentally, physically, emotionally. And the Sky program is so important in teaching all of the necessary skills on how to be successful, happy, and healthy. So we teach them how to be good people and how to manage your stress in positive ways and really just be able to take on life.
In Freeport, this has been a district and a school at Dodd where we really prioritize the Sky program and we prioritize the social emotional learning of our students. So I'm in a unique situation where I'm learning the program as I'm teaching it to the students. So as they're learning it, I'm learning it too. Being able to connect with them in that way, when they see that I'm learning the program, this is new for me too, as it might be new for them. And if it's something that I'm open to as an adult, hopefully as a role model for these kids, it's something that they know is real, real with me. And just when they see that I'm authentic, it allows them to just be themselves in the classroom.
The Sky program has affected my life because sometimes when I feel nervous during a test, or when I go, for example, zip lining, or I go ride my bike down a big hill, I can know that I could take a breath and then I could find my inner self, and I just feel much more victorious.
The Sky program has affected my life, but it helped me get less nervous, especially on tests, making friends, helped me calm down when I'm playing sports, especially baseball, especially when I'm about to hit and get nervous. Yeah, it helped me a lot doing stuff.
Is there any particular technique that you use?
I use a straw breath, mostly because I've learned it in elementary school.
I use victory breaths for my sports and stuff.
Wonderful. How does that help you?
It helps me calm down since we're swimming in a big crowd of people. It helps you calm down, helps you focus on what you have to do and all that stuff.
I like to use straw breath and also victory breath. They get me relaxed.
That's awesome. Have you shared what you learned with anyone in your family?
Yeah, I've shared with my mom. If she ever got stressed out, she would use it to help calm down.
Was there a certain point that you connected with?
Yeah, going out of your comfort zone, because I draw a lot, so stepping out of my comfort zone where I draw, I have to draw different things to practice, so I have to step out of my comfort zone to do those things.
I use the Sky app probably weekly at this point since I found out about it, and it helps me a lot whenever, as I said, if I'm biking or if I'm on a zip line, I just hop on the Sky app quickly. It's always available and it's very easy to use.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love watching that because I know so many of those students now in junior high school that were my students when they were in 5th and 6th grade. As you can see, Sky Schools actually encourages a sense of belonging for everyone, and it empowers the students just to be who they are. So the structure of the model that we have in our district has 3 pillars. The first one uses whole class instruction, and teachers like myself go from classroom to classroom and we deliver social emotional learning lessons. A typical lesson would include restorative circles, which help build community in the classroom. We play games to promote mindfulness. Of course, there are the breathing techniques. That's the essential, most important piece of the lesson. There's short videos to develop curriculum and teaching points, guided meditations. I use writing now. At this time of the year, they're much more receptive to it, and they're eager to share their personal reflections and their experiences. We also integrate our points, which wrap very nicely around the social and emotional learning curriculum, Sky Schools points. The second part of our model is the pillar where we do one-to-one or small group instruction. And we have various ways that we implement that. We have students that actually seek the help of Sky Schools teachers when they're having a moment, they're having a challenge, they need some assistance, they know who they can go to. We also have the support of the psychologists, guidance counselors, and social workers that refer students to us directly that we can assist and teach them strategies to help them manage their anxiety, depression, and chronic stress. We offered in the past a lunchtime program. That's when I first came into this, and it was great because the students came by choice during their recess period and worked with us in a very fun setting, and we taught different techniques again to just build them up. And we have an after-school model that also incorporates the techniques and the breathing and the social and emotional learning curriculum. So we are doing everything that we can to have a far reach any way we can to reach as many students as possible in the district with those 2 models. The last model is one of my favorites. It's called the Daily Reset, and we utilize this in definitely our middle school, our junior high school, and our high school. In the elementary buildings, the students get the benefit of sky time, I call it, during their physical education classes. During the Daily Reset, the entire school community is engaged in a time where we take the time to reset our mind and our body. And it happens over the public address system in the building, and anyone is there that's in the building benefits from it. Custodial staff, the cafeteria staff, the nurses, students, anyone, just the general public that might be in the building. And so the Daily Reset has become a revered time of the day. The students know when it's happening. One of my students told me yesterday, oh, at 12:09 and we're doing the Daily Reset. So they have it like clockwork and they look forward to it. So those are our 3 models that we use: the whole class instruction, the one-to-one and small group instruction, and the Daily Reset. And at this time, I'm very happy to share a Daily Reset with you. So let us begin. And I want you to make sure that you have a little space. We're going to start with some movement. So I'd like for you just to raise your arms up above your heads and reach toward the sky like you could touch the clouds. Just reach and feel your heart open as you do this. Next, bring your arms to your sides, parallel to your shoulders, and reach again to both sides of the room that you're in. Now bring your arms in the front of you, and loosen your wrists and just wiggle your fingers. Now rest your arms. Let's now shake our heads up and down like we are saying yes with conviction. And now no with the same type of conviction. Now tilt your head from side to side as though you're making an effort to touch your shoulders with your ears. And relax that. Now let's do some head and neck rolls, starting in the front, rolling your head and neck all the way around to the back, And again towards the front. Now let's reverse that motion in the opposite direction, rolling your head and neck all the way around and coming to let your head hang gently in front. Now you may lift your head. Let's do some shoulder shrugs. Up and down, up and down, vigorously moving your shoulders. One more time. Let's roll them back and reverse that direction, rolling them forward. And relax. Let's focus for a moment on our feet, just going on your tippy toes, wherever you're sitting, using your tippy toes up and down. Now extend both legs in front of you and begin to point and flex your feet. Point and flex, point, flex, point, and flex. Now, roll your ankles in circles outward, both ankles at the same time, and reverse and roll your ankles in, both at the same time. And relax. Now come to sit in as a comfortable position as possible, with a tall spine. Place both hands in your lap with your palms facing upward. And if you haven't already, close your eyes. Let's take a breath in, deep breath in, and let it go. We'll start with a body scan, beginning at your feet. We're going to notice how our bodies are feeling right now. Notice your feet and your ankles. Notice your calves and your knees. Notice your thighs and your hips, your waist, your belly, your chest and your back, your neck, all the way to the top of your head. We'll practice today a breathing technique called the straw breath. As we use the straw breath, we'll inhale, filling your lungs to capacity each time you inhale, and on the exhale, you'll gently release and blow it out through an invisible straw in your mouth. So let's practice. Breathing in, filling your lungs. Hold it a bit and blow it out, gently, gently releasing and controlling your exhale. Again, breathing at your own pace, inhaling, filling your lungs, exhaling each time, blowing it out through the space in your mouth. Continue to breathe in this way. Now, keeping your eyes closed, allow your breathing to return to normal for a moment. And just notice any difference in how you might feel right now. Let's use the straw breath again, inhaling deeply and blowing it out through a straw. Continue at your own pace. Each time you exhale, gently controlling the release, making each exhale longer than the inhale or the breath before it. One more time. Again, allow your breathing to return to normal, keeping all of your attention on your breath now and taking slow, deep breaths. We'll breathe with intention in this way and focus on our emotions now. So breathing at your own pace. Inhale, relaxation. Exhale, stress. Inhale, serenity. Exhale, anxiety. Inhale, patience. Exhale, frustration. Inhale, positive energy. Exhale, negative energy. Just breathe. Releasing, exhaling all emotions that might be holding you back or getting in your way today. Let's do another scan from the top of your head all the way to the bottom of your feet, checking in with how your body feels now. We'll take one last deep breath in and let it go. When you feel you're ready, you may open your eyes. Thank you for resetting with me. How's everyone feeling? Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Arlene. So happy that so many kids get to be with you each day. I don't feel like talking anymore. Thank you for settling us. So now we're in that space and our brains are settled a bit. We're more receptive and open. You know, if you ask what we do, a lot of it for me comes down to just creating readiness in the mind. In schools, we're there to learn and absorb, but if our mind is overwhelmed with emotions and challenging thoughts, there's no space. There's no space for new information to come in, right? The soil isn't fertile for learning. When you clear out the stress, it's like creating fertile soil. There's nothing more able to learn than a young person. I have a small child. Watching her learn is the most remarkable thing, but when stress fills the brain, then there's no more room. So when we just clear it out, you create that space, so much can happen. And this next learner is a remarkable one. We are going to hear from Mr. Louis Gagnon, and he actually had a wild little turn of events. He wasn't able to join us this evening. He had a kind of conflict come up last minute, so he took the time to make a video, so we'll watch a recording. But Louis is a remarkable entrepreneur and corporate leader who's had amazing success with Monster, with Ride, with Amazon, with Audible, top-level executive, and amazing marketing mind. And he's shifted all of his brilliance now towards wellness as the CEO of Total Brain. Johan mentioned briefly that is the largest database of neuroscientific data looking at brain health and wellness. And now they've created a product that allows one to optimize brain health and performance. So this is a person who has had all the success and is really dedicated to helping others have success day to day and moment to moment. So I hope everybody enjoys his words.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Louis Gagnon. I am the CEO of Total Brain. I am also a huge fan of Sky School, personal friend to Elon, Robin, Emil, and all these wonderful people trying to make a difference for the students of this country. And today I was asked to share a bit of my experience about Sky and about life in general. So I decided to make a little presentation on what makes our reality. Before I get into it, I'd like to introduce myself. So first, let's realize that I, like you, I'm a duck. What does that mean? On the surface, I maintain a positive version of myself. But beneath the surface, there is a different version going on. In fact, I'm peddling. I am trying to keep it together in real time, all the time. So what does my duck look like? On the surface, I'm that guy. I come from Quebec City. I played hockey all of my youth. I came to this beautiful Catholic schools built in the 1600s. I lived in 8 different countries in my adult life, 4 continents. I got to see the world. I got to meet great people. I am now leading a public company. I travel, I speak. I have a family, a wonderful family, 3 beautiful children, a dog, Ginger, and a house and a wife, Kathleen. And on the surface, I look like I have it pretty much together. But there is a beneath that surface. And beneath that surface, in December, 4 of 5 Gagnon Robinsons were actually sick with COVID at the same time. Worst, 3 months later, in March, I got, as a side effect of COVID, multiple pulmonary embolies, where I had 30% of chances of dying. And that is 2.5 months ago. I am unable to see my mother. It's been 1.5 years. She's in Canada, 90 years old, in a senior home, and I cannot visit. I cannot visit my sister, who is my closest sibling, who's recovering from an untreatable cancer. And I myself have been recovering. Only recently can I say that I have dealt with, in a very meaningful way, the trauma that I acquired when I was at the wrong place, at the wrong time in the Rwandan genocide in 1994. So you must wonder, why am I sharing all of it? Why am I sharing the positive and the negative? Why do I want to talk about this? I want to talk about this because if we're going to talk about reality and how to make our reality, we need to understand that both the negative and the positive in our lives are the makers of that reality. Both. And it happens in a chain reaction that is absolutely fascinating to me, and I want to share it with you. So what's that chain reaction? Well, the opposite values of life happen. My daughter graduates from IHA, beautiful school in New Jersey, this weekend, or I got COVID in December. I will remember this. I will store it in my memory, and I will attach beliefs or life impressions to it. Example, my daughter's graduated with honors because she's my daughter and I'm a pretty smart guy. Or I got COVID because I'm the unlucky one. I'm always the one with the short hand of the stick. I've got no luck. This is me. I have 100 billion neurons in my brain storing every single nuance of everything that's happening all the time. So as something new happens, my brain goes into this memory, goes into this library of beliefs, and asks itself, how should I feel right now? Is that a good or a bad experience? So I get an emotion. I get 5 emotions per second. We are constantly emoting, and our emotions are going to trigger thoughts. We have 50,000 thoughts per day. Most of them will be negative. Why? And most emotions are negative as well. And why? Is because our brain is specialized as a radar to detect dangers. And so it is hyper-focused on what is not quite right, on what could be a threat, as opposed to what is right and what is wonderful. So we end up having a whole lot of negativity to deal with. And all of this is happening just unconsciously as we are reacting to life in front of us. Worst, our body is going to also react without us knowing or without us wanting it. It's all managed by something called the autonomous nervous system, which is involuntary. So now what happens to my body? I have an emotion, a thought that was triggered by an event, and I'm going to breathe differently. I'm going to breathe long if I'm happy and in love. I'm going to breathe short and intensely if I am in danger. My heart rate is going to vary the same way, long and irregular versus short and very regular. My endocrinal system is going to produce cortisol and adrenaline in one case, or it's going to produce beautiful dopamine in another case. My digestive system will activate or relax to free up energy so that I can focus on the task at hand. All of this beautiful mechanic is happening without me deciding. But it's going to influence what I actually decide to do, my actions, and ultimately my reality. Every moment that I live is influenced by that chain of event that I've just described. So every moment that I spend at school, at work, at home, is all predicated upon this chain of event. When I realized this was about 6 years ago, after I had a beautiful moment and an insight that has changed my life, given to me by Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, the yogi, probably one of the most prominent yogi on earth. Sri Sri made me realize something as I was starting to practice sky breath, and as I was learning all of this, I had this big insight, and that insight has changed my life. And what was that insight? Is that this is a dynamic system. The brain, the heart, the body, the mind, all of this is interconnected. It's dynamic. And because it's dynamic, we have a chain reaction. Every part influences the other part. And what is absolutely fascinating is that most parts of that dynamic system is out of our control, with one exception, and that is what Sri Sri taught me. But let's go through this. I have the chain reaction here, and I don't control the events that happen. Hindus call it karma. Others will call it destiny. Things happen. I don't decide that COVID is going to stop or that I'm going to get it. It just happens. The emotions that are triggered, unconscious, comes from my memory and my beliefs. So do my thoughts. And now all of a sudden, my heart is going to beat in a certain way. I cannot change that. I cannot change my endocrinal system. I cannot say, hey, let's produce less cortisol, and all of a sudden I produce less cortisol. Digestive system, same thing. All of this is not part of our awareness. So our decisions, our actions, and our reality is largely influenced by things that we do not control. That's dramatic. But there is a wonderful insight, which is that we control one little bit in this whole complex system, which is our breath. We control our lungs. I am able to decide if I'm going to breathe long or short, if I do it in different sequence. And as I do this, physiologically, I am gaining agency because that breath of mine is going to change my heart rate. It's going to change the blood flow. It's going to change the hormones. It's going to change the digestive system. And all of a sudden, I had a vicious circle that I did not know what to do with. And I took a stick and I put it in that circle and I said, stop. Physiologically, mechanically, with my breath, I was able to reverse a chain reaction. And hopefully now, I am able, with that physiological reaction, able to be more present. I feel relaxed. And when I feel relaxed, I feel less distracted by the past and the future. My memories play less of a role in this moment. I am more equanimous. I'm able to distance myself from what I am feeling. And therefore, I am able to gain more agency. I am able to be less triggered in this moment, to change the triggering, to become a witness as opposed to being only in the scenery, to being a victim of what's happening in the movie. I can step back, I can watch the movie, and I can decide to change things on the go. That is what the breath and meditation allows us to do. And so we become more free to create a better reality for us. I experienced that firsthand. And for me, sky's the limit. Nice, cute play on word, isn't it? But really, it is sky is the limit. When I learned sky, when I was able to create this distance between the scenery and the seer, between me and what was happening in the world, when I was able to, in the moment, change the patterns of my breath so that I could relax myself and short-circuit my fight or flight, thanks to my lungs that is able in the dynamic system to reverse all of those chain reaction. When I learned that, I have learned how to live in a very different way, in a way where I am much more free, where I can give more intently, and where I can become the best that I am. And so it is an invitation, this small little testimonial of mine is an invitation to the youth and to the people who could make a difference for them to learn sky and to enjoy the freedom and to enjoy this agency to change the world, because God knows we need it. So on that, I want to wish you a very nice evening, and I hope that Sky will continue to do the work, the wonderful, necessary work that it does. Thank you. Bye.
I'm sad that Louis couldn't be with us here this evening, but I think it's a truly beautiful testimonial. I think he speaks so powerfully in terms of that relationship between the breath and this whole dynamic system. And so wonderful to hear what a game changer that is at that point in one's life for somebody who obviously has such incredible self-management already and capacity to achieve. But what if one could have that realization, that insight that transformed Louis' life when they were 9 or 12 or 17? I can't imagine. I do this work because of how many unnecessary painful lessons and suffering I had to go through because I didn't learn that lesson then. Because nobody showed up to give me those tools when I really needed them at 15. So we're coming towards our time here, but we're going to, in a speedy little way, give you a little experience again of how this is taught at that age. But for this moment in our process, I'm going to need a volunteer. Is there anybody who's been happily watching and is ready to step onto the playing field and would like to participate in a very quick little exercise, an exploration of how we do this in the schools? Anyone? A thumb or a hand or a like? A moment of courage. I promise it will be relatively painless. No. Fun. See anyone?
Should we call on somebody, Ilan?
We could do it. I see, I will do it from a Mr. Jitin Shah.
Jitin.
Oh, a courageous, wonderful one. Thank you, Jitin. I also see Usha just raised her hand, but.
Lon, I'm trusting you on this one, okay?
All right. So Jitin, are you willing to be 14 for this little exercise?
Sure, I'll try.
You'll try? Good. So Jitin, do you remember being 14?
I do, vaguely.
Vaguely, back in the... Did you at that time ever get your buttons pushed? You know what that expression means?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does everybody on this call have some sense of what it means to have their buttons pushed? It's happened to you once decades ago, right? Decades ago. Not since. You don't have any spouses or work or other triggers out there. So Jitin, let's say I happen, and you're 14, I happen to be really good at pushing your anger button, okay? I know just the thing to say to you to get that reaction. How do you feel when I push your anger button?
I feel angry in return.
You feel angry. Very good. You're a wonderful participant. And what is that experience of feeling angry, Jitin? How does it feel in your body? Louis was talking about this whole chain reaction. What does it feel like when the emotion of anger comes up?
I guess it takes over my entire being. Like I'm just constantly now thinking about how do I get back at you and you know, take my revenge or just do something to harm you in return.
So a little overwhelming. And it's not a pleasant feeling, is it?
No, it's not.
So now you're angry, you're experiencing all of that. I wanted to get you angry. That was my goal. How am I feeling?
Hey, you're feeling victorious, right? You're feeling happy.
Yeah. I might be a jerk, but I feel good in the moment, right? I'm getting what I wanted here. Now, what do I have over you? What have you given away in this moment?
Yes, control over my actions or control over, you know, my feelings.
Yeah, your control. Who has more power in this dynamic?
You do?
I do. Now, Jitin, when you were 14, did you want to be a powerful person?
Absolutely.
So why did you give your power away?
Didn't realize it, right?
Perfect answer. We didn't realize it. In that moment, you're not thinking, oh, I'm giving my power away. You're just reacting, right? That emotion, it comes up so strong. It's so overwhelming. But now we just had a little conversation. Really, this was just this brief dialogue, this exchange. And now you realize that you're giving your power away. And you don't want to give your power away. So I have a challenge for you. Now, adult Jitin, for the next 24 hours, whatever your colleagues at EY do to you, for 24 hours, can you be button-proof?
First of all, they are all wonderful. They never push my buttons, you know, so.
Very good. Very good. Are you willing to take the challenge? 24 hours?
I will try my best.
That's all we can ask. I'm giving you, Jitin, your own virtual button-proof badge that you can put on and you can wear it and carry it. And we are all clapping you on for 24 hours of button-proof freedom. Would everybody else like to take this challenge? Is this valuable for all of us still? Somewhere, somehow? Yeah. So we can all take this challenge. You know, If any of us as adults actually mastered this fully in our lives, it would be a game changer. We've grown, we've learned, but still it's a reality for us, this thing. Because is this easy? We can learn this, we can gain this awareness, but is it easy to do when you get triggered? To just be button proof?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Because as Louis shared, the emotions are so overwhelming. The chain reaction in the system is so profound, right? Our breath changes, our heart rate changes, everything changes. And so what did we learn from Louis? What's the one thing we can control, right? In that moment when the emotions are overwhelming, when everything is overwhelming, we have the breath. So I'm going to pass it to the wonderful Susan Ramsudar Singh, our managing director, research extraordinaire, who has been holding this space on Zoom for us all tonight to give us a closing gift of a technique you can all take with you.
So now that you've all taken the button proof challenge, what you don't know is when you take the button proof challenge, the universe conspires to push your buttons. So this is a very important tool. I'm going to demonstrate it. It's called victory breath because this breath allows us to get victory over our mind. So I'll demonstrate it first and just listen carefully, and then we'll do it together. Okay. So what this breath is it's a gentle constriction in the back of our throat that sounds a little bit like the ocean. And the way that we can do this, it's easier than we think, most of us do it in our sleep, is you are all going to imagine that you've come home with me to Trinidad. We have spent the whole day on the beach. We have climbed up the hill to my aunt's house, and she has beautiful glasses of ice cold water for us. And when we drink the water, what's the sound that we make? So let's all make that sound together. Yes, and as we make that sound, you can feel it gentle tickle in the back of our throat. So we're going to try now making that sound with our in-breath and our out-breath. Okay. And now we're going to close our mouth and we're going to continue making that sound. Taking nice long, deep breaths in. If you're not sure, you can cover your ears and it will sound like the ocean. You can relax your hands, close your eyes, and continue with nice long deep breaths, breathing in and out. In, out, in, out. And continue at your own pace for just a few more. And last one, breathing in and out. And just rest for a moment. Resting with your eyes closed, just be aware of how you feel, your body, your mind. And slowly and gradually, with a smile, you can open your eyes. How was it? Did anybody notice a difference in your mind or your body? Yeah. Apparently it's made everybody very quiet and focused. Good. So we talk a lot about how breathing helps us to manage our stress, right? We always hear, keep calm, don't stress. You know, despite the fact that stress is a normal part of our life, we're always told not to stress. But how exactly do we do that, right? Stress is natural. If you think about it, in the animal kingdom, there's a tremendous amount of stress. They're often being hunted, or they're the hunter, and they're running at the tip top of their physical capacity. And yet, we don't see zebras having ulcers, right? And yet, when we think about ourselves, 80% of doctor visits in the United States are related to stress. So what's the difference? The difference is the reset. After a lion makes a hunt, they lie in the sun and they sleep. But what do? We keep going. Looking at this, we see that there's actually not all stress is bad. How many of us get nervous before presenting? Right? Or how many of us really find that when you get to a race, no matter how nervous you are, you run so much faster because of the pressure and the stress of that, right? And we achieve our best sometimes when we are stressed. So stress can be a tremendous motivator. Without stress, we can be inactive, we can get laid back. And there's a level here of optimum stress where stress pushes us to achieve our best. The trick is knowing when to reset. Because when we don't reset and we just continue to go through stress and endure stress, physical stress, emotional stress, mental stress, it leads to exhaustion and eventually burnout. And this is where we start to see the sickness and the illnesses that happen. So the trick here is before we get to this point of fatigue, to be able to do a reset. And the reset can be very simple, like the one that Arlene shared with us. And for many of us, that's what the sky breathing practice is. It's a practice that allows us once a day, every day, for just 15 or 20 minutes to reset at a physiological level, at an emotional level, and in a mental level, and reset our body to the optimal state for performance in all aspects of our life. So this is what we share with all of not just the students, but the entire school community. Thank you. I'm going to hand you back to Ilan.
It was the perfect segue because now our real wish is to share it with you. You've given us your time to come be here and learn and lend your support and your solidarity and your resources. And we would like to share back with you a gift to experience the sky practice. And Johan has made an extraordinarily generous offer himself to invite any of you to experience the TLEX course, which is a remarkable gift that very few get unless they have the luck to have their company sponsor it. So he is going to be offering that course July 9th through the 11th. And then we are offering our course that we offer for educational leaders, the Sky Educational Leader course. Both of these feature the Sky Breath meditation practice. And our biggest wish, now that you've made it and been with us for this time, is that you make the space for yourself, be a little bit selfish, and give yourself this incredible, unique gift that is available to you through your attendance tonight. So July 9th through 11th is a weekend, Friday through Sunday. The 13th through 15th is weekday evening, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you go to tiny.cc-skygift, you will see the exact times. It's Friday evening and then Saturday, Sunday morning, midday, depending where you are. And the 13th through 15th is, as I shared, evening on the East Coast time. So take a moment, please, and be a little greedy and receive this gift for yourself. Go sign up, let us know which of these dates works best for you, or if truly the dates don't work but you're interested, let us know as well. There's an option in this little form, and we will make sure that you get an invitation and opportunity to learn this tool, as it is truly such a game changer for one's wellness and joy and performance. So once again, you see that. Yeah, Robin just mentioned it's also on the program you have. We will be sending this out afterwards as well, so no fret. But if you want to just seize the moment right now and click, there's a link in the chat, you could sign up. If you make it to this form, you will also see a few little questions, optional questions of ways that you might care to engage with us. And that's really where we're going to close out now. We know we are a few minutes over our time. The bell would have rung in the school. Our classroom would be empty. But we are going to stick around, and we are going to go into a few different rooms. 2 breakout rooms will become available. If you would care to stick around, you are welcome to do so. Susan, if you'd take us to the next slides, we have 2 little conversations that we're offering. The first one is, these are the 2. The first is if you're with a corporation and you'd like to explore how could we partner to bring this to more young people. If you're interested in that, then you could join breakout room 1 with Robin and myself, and we'll talk about how we could partner together, what are the needs and opportunities and exciting ways that we could work together to bring this to the hundreds of thousands of young people who are waiting across the country where we serve. And the second conversation on the next slide, if you are a school leader, an educator, and you'd be curious in understanding how could we best collaborate for your school, your district, we will talk through some of these steps, opportunities for you yourself to have an experience, which we highly recommend as the best first step. And then what processes might look like in implementation or making presentations for you. So we're going to move in that direction.